Christian faith, I believe, has everything to do with what you love and how you love. And it also has a great deal to do with responsibility. And when we realize our responsibility for the gift of life and habitat, then that places a responsibility on us to protect it, to love it, to take care of it, to cherish it.
This is Charleston, South Carolina, the city we know and love, the city we call home. Known for its colorful buildings, rich culture, and beautiful waterways. But this is also our city.
There's so much water in South Carolina and more is on the way.
It's been a dangerous day for millions of Americans in the southeastern part of this country.
And then it just started pouring raining and then the house just filled up.
When we talk about something as complex as our climate challenge, lots of people have different opinions about that, and that's okay. That we don't all have to agree on what's exactly is happening and who's to blame. But what we are noticing is that our community is at risk.
So what kind of risk are we talking about? We asked the experts.
We're already seeing an increase in the number of days that have high tide flooding in Charleston, such that it actually disrupts traffic.
In the 1970s, we saw around 2 days of tidal flooding per year. Turns out that's a lot less than what we see today.
In 2015, we had 35 days where we had flooding that was recorded at the tide gauge. In 2016, that jumped to 50 days.
And according to NOAA, that number is expected to hit 180 days by 2045. That's almost half a calendar year that you can expect ankle-deep water in certain parts of the city, even on a sunny day.
One of the examples is that the hospital district is so low that it's among the first part of the city that floods when we are having a very high tide or a storm. So during those floods and severe floods, they have to redirect patients to another hospital inland. I often will tell people that climate change is like a camera filter. It makes things more intense. Climate change isn't causing a hurricane, it's not causing a rainstorm, but what it is doing is that it's creating a storm that might have more water in it, or it may even be a higher category of storm that may have higher winds. And so when those storms have the opportunity to form, they form more quickly and they form more intensely. Another impact is saltwater intrusion to the groundwater, and that there are areas that if they're pulling groundwater out for drinking supply, that water could become contaminated with salt. Heat stresses our bodies very intensely, and especially when there's a lot of humidity. And we're in the Lowcountry and we already have a great deal of humidity that makes it much more difficult for people to work outside. And it also stresses people who maybe don't have air conditioning or places to go to get relief from that heat. That's what starts causing severe public health impacts. And we're expected to see the number of days where we have those extreme heat days to increase.
Seems like every day, if you keep up with the literature, that something precious is in danger. And there is that feeling of like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to help or what I'm supposed to do. The psychology literature says that, and this is mostly true with the young people, that there are so many things to change and so many precious things that are in danger that they don't do anything. It's sort of analysis paralysis.
And this feeling of paralysis is totally normal. It's called being human. But in order for us to get out of that state of apathy and into a state of action, we're going to have to address that internal conflict. And there's actually a lot of local spiritual leaders who are helping us do just that.
In the secular Buddhism that I practice mindfulness. And the mindfulness gives me the ability to calm down and be clear-sighted about today's challenges, even as feelings come up. And it is a fantastic tool to stay stable and persist at this time of pretty profound change.
You know, Judaism teaches us to be responsible, not just for ourselves, but for our families, and then our communities, and then for the earth. The way we lead by example is a huge way to make sure our actions have an impact on other people.
At Higher Ground, we're looking at what we the people can do. We don't need to wait for government. And what we're doing is forming small groups across the city, this year in pilot studies, next year on a more comprehensive basis. And these small groups are meeting for 4 to 5 meetings, looking at the low carbon diet workbook from the Empowerment Institute, enjoying each other's company, building community, having some fun as we examine ways that we can begin to have low carbon lifestyles.
A lot of people want a big answer to, we've got this big problem. What's the big answer? And it implies that there's some end that we're going towards, and that's the big answer. And what Higher Ground is doing is saying, no, it's not like there isn't an end. It's more of like a musical piece where the whole thing is nice. You're not playing music really fast to get to the end. You're just enjoying the whole thing. And that's what Higher Ground is trying to do, is say, calm down. Let's stop for a second and maybe enjoy the process of changing ourselves. And maybe other people will pick up on it.
It's foolish to say that I'm hopeful and not make lifestyle changes to put wheels on that hope. And we may think that in the great scheme of things, that's not going to matter a great deal. But it does. It makes a great deal of difference. Every one of us makes a great deal of difference.
The Lowcountry has the possibility to really be a shining example in the country, because what's happening here is actually happening in coastal cities around the United States and around the world.
We could absolutely, as a planet and as a species, tackle this on and solve this problem, but we have to work together and we have to get going now.